Hey, happy Thursday, everybody. It's your coach here. Coach is Call on Tap. This is your daily chalk talk. I got my buddy Russell here. Me and Russell have never really just sat here and shot the shit, and I don't know that y'all know a whole lot about him. Huge Baylor Bear fan. Grew up in Waco. Played ball in Waco. And just a huge Baylor Bear fan. And as you know by behind me, y'all know I'm a huge Aggie fan, and we work in a place that's full of UT fans. And so all we hear about daily is how great fucking UT is and all the championships that they've won. And it's sickening to hear all this shit. Well, Russell has a little different take on it, like I do. But we're going to get to know Russell a little bit better. We were sitting there talking about beer. Yeah, I'm drinking some Keystone. It's tough. It's tough to drink, but we do that anyway. But Russ, thanks for being on, bud. We're just going to be on here a little bit and shoot the shit and kind of fill in the people about what we talk about, during the day, almost daily, especially during football season. Anyway, tell us a little about yourself, Russell. I know you're from Waco, big Baylor Bear fan. Tell us about your Baylor Bears, how much they've won, and how better they are than UT.
Well, I'm not going to sit here and act like they're better than UT because that would be foolish. Everybody turned the podcast off if I said that. My roots with Baylor they run deep. I grew up in North Waco, probably about a square mile. If you drew a straight line, probably about a mile and a half to the old Floyd Casey Stadium. I used to be able to sit outside on a Saturday afternoon. I could hear the PA announcer from Floyd Casey. I'd listen to the games on the radio. By
What high school did you go
halftime
to,
back
bud?
then, I went to Waco Midway, and then
Attaboy.
my last 2 years I went to Lorena, which is just a little south. The next town south on I-35. But during my childhood, I grew up in Waco, which would have meant I would have went to Waco University, but we moved before that. Um, but literally halftime back then in the '90s, after Grant Taft retired, Baylor went at the end of the Southwest Conference, the beginning stages of the Big 12, completely went and became a doormat. And I could literally hop on my bike, get my bike locked, take it to Floyd Casey, lock it up against the old chain link fence, and walk in at halftime. And I went to so many games as a kid. Most of the time, my parents were back then. They didn't care. They wouldn't even know I was at. I was just out on my bike and be home by dark. So I grew to be a fan, obviously, because I could sit there right on the sideline and watch the games back then. So to watch that program, that city, what it's become now, to me is as an adult, it's pretty awesome. You
Yeah.
were with me a few years ago watching the national championship when Baylor won. I mean, we'd never won anything like that. Only thing we'd ever done is track and women's basketball prior to that. So for me, the last couple of years have kind of been our heyday, so to speak, with the Art Briles and then the Sugar
Yeah.
Bowl a couple of years ago. So yeah, it's hard because even in Waco, you've got a little small sea of green, but everywhere else it's a sea of orange, and trickle in a little bit of maroon until you get out east a little bit. So,
And McLean Stadium
and
is
yeah,
beautiful. You took me and my wife to a
I
game
did.
over there.
Yeah, I took you last year. I had season tickets.
Yeah, it's
Um,
beautiful what they've done over there.
yeah, and I'm excited to see Foster Arena. They just opened the basketball pavilion right there on the Brazos River, and I'm excited. I told Brandy I want to go watch a basketball game and live bet while we're there. Just but the tickets from the Farrell Center that they just closed, you could get an average ticket of about $30. Now it's about $120 for a
Yeah.
seat, even in the nosebleed. So they've upped their game for sure.
Yeah. So
But
so you watched. Okay, so first of all, you brought up Art Briles,
yeah,
Stephenville head coach. He's one of those high school coaches. He's got the dog in him. I know he got a little trouble, but I mean he's a football coach. He's a ball coach. Everybody followed him. He turned the high school football upside down. Went over there, did a great job for y'all.
yeah.
You watched not only him but RG3.
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. RG3. And a lot of people don't realize the success that Art Browse had mostly came after RG3. It was I forget the quarterback now. He ended up playing for the Jets. And they had a lot of wide receivers. There's still several in the league right now. Under Browse and that run and gun, that offense was so fun that they put up 70 a game back then, and how fast they would get to the line, tire out the defense, And that all started with RG3. That was really when I'd always watch Baylor. It's hard when your team is a dumpster fire prior to that. I mean, I'd listen to it on the radio and watch it. They would barely be on TV, maybe once or twice a season. Now you can catch every game. But once RG3 got there and Browse got there and they put that offense in there, it really took off. And then, RG3 never played at McLean Stadium. He closed down Floyd Casey. So there's been a lot of success because of that. And I do feel like Art Browse got a bad shake in that whole deal. I really felt like he was made the scapegoat. But yeah, I think right now they have definitely got some issues with their coaching staff. I know Coach JJ is a big fan of Aranda. I am not. I know you're not either. I know we went and watched that game last year against Texas State,
it was fucking
and you were mad. And you're not even a Baylor fan, but you were getting upset at the way they were calling the game.
Yeah, it was painful. Now, Art Browse's son is now the OC at Arkansas. He was
Browse.
this year. Yeah, Kendall Browse.
Yeah,
he was here, or he was there last year. I think he's still there the same. So tell me about the Big 12. I mean, I know. So, everybody talks about, or everybody at our work talks about, Texas is the mainstay, and Texas this, Texas that. But y'all actually have a better record against them, don't you? Over the last 8-10 years.
Over the last 10 years or so, and we have more Big 12 wins since the 06 season where Texas won their national championship. We have more Big 12 championships than they do, and I think the record's about even. But the thing about Texas, and I'm a Texas kid, so I'll root for Texas just like I was rooting for them last week.
I won't. But good for you.
Yeah, I'm not a Texas hater, but
I am.
The problem that I have with Texas and Texas fans in general is they think they're basically the college football equivalent of the New York Yankees, and they're more like the San Francisco Giants. You win one here, you win one there. Yeah, you think you're Grey Poupon, but you're Heinz mustard.
Right.
You're not. You're not what you think you are. But they have, and I'll tell you a story. Year before last, me and Brandy went to a Baylor game against Texas, and we had to sit next to the UT band, and unfortunately, we're sitting around a lot of UT fans. We ended up winning that game. Texas had a lead until the third quarter. And the fans are just absolute. I can't believe we're losing to this podunk Baylor team. They suck. Well, we ended up winning the Big 12 championship that year, but they were basically the way the comments they would make. Hey, they were talking down about Baylor. Well, we're beating you, and then the following week we beat OU as well, and then went on to beat Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship game. It's just the attitude that UT people have. And I'll go into the Big 12 a little bit. Obviously, you losing Texas in that program, the TV views, the money, that's going to be a big deal. But Oklahoma, the same thing. Obviously, those are the two premier programs in the league. As far as football is concerned, though, if you look at it, you still have Oklahoma State.
Right.
You've got Utah coming in. The sleeping dragon coming into the Big 12 is Colorado with Deion Sanders. If he sticks around, and I really believe in a few years will probably be a perennial national championship contender.
Do you really?
Do you
really believe that?
I think with the NIL and the money that's going to be generated by that program and the advertisement and the way he's going to be able to recruit, I do believe that's going to happen. So in football, you're going to have Oklahoma State rise up and be a good team. Kansas State historically has been a good top tier program.
Thank God we got their offensive coordinator, Collins. He's at A&M now, so thank you for that.
Texas Tech. There's and forgive me if I'm leaving anybody out, but there's some teams that can compete that have the budget. Baylor, obviously, you've seen what they've been able to do in the last decade or so.
You still have Iowa State in there, right? Iowa State, UCF, Houston.
Kansas had a good year.
Kansas State, you guys, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State,
West
Virginia. So in saying all that, everybody,
I think they'll be the third best conference in college football when all the dust settles. I think the new Big Ten is going to be a step above the Big 12, and I think the SEC. As much as I hate adding, and they're going to see NIL, but
your mic's going off a little bit. I'm glad you said that. You said the third best conference. I think eventually it's only going to be 3 conferences. I don't know what's going to happen to the ACC, if they're going to go rogue and just go independent or move on, whatever. Because Florida State's already gone. I don't know if they're going to the Big Ten, or I don't know if they're coming to the SEC. I don't know about that, but I do believe that the 4 teams, USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington, they're going to the Big Ten. I think they're going to make a major shakeup over there. I think those 4 teams right there have a legitimate shot to just take over, especially if Harbaugh leaves. I don't know what's going to go on with Michigan.
Ohio State will still be Ohio State.
They will be, but Day, everybody's saying he's really disappointed. People are disappointed in him. I don't know. Penn State's Penn State. Let's be honest. I mean, that's not.
Well, I mean, and I think Nebraska's going to start turning it around the next couple of years as well. I know people are low on when we were talking about Baylor, talking about Matt Rule.
Yeah.
The guy was a terrible pro coach, but man, he did a hell of a job.
Well, he was with y'all, right?
Yeah, we won the Sugar Bowl year before last with him, and I'm sorry, we didn't. We got to Sugar Bowl and we lost. But the year we won the Sugar Bowl, that was Matt Rule's last recruiting class that went in and beat Ole Miss in the Sugar Bowl 2 years ago. That was Matt Rule's last recruiting class, and ever since then, it's kind of been a downward spiral under Dave Aranda. So that guy's he's a good coach. He came from Temple, and he had a good run up there. Comes down to Texas, and you know how hard it is to recruit down here. He got some players, baby. I mean, he did a great job. I wish we could have him back. I know Tristan talking about the Panthers, and he's a terrible coach. He's not, and I think he's going to turn Nebraska back into a good program. Maybe not the Tom Osborne Nebraska, but I do think they'll be the second best conference when all the dust settles. I don't know what's exactly going to happen with Florida State and Clemson. It'd be awesome if they could end up in the Big 12. That would change the dynamic, I think, as well, or a Miami for that matter, if they could ever get back to prominence. But the biggest thing for me with the Big 12, if you look at it, especially right now, if we're going to get off and football season's over, let's talk about basketball a little bit. Look at the teams that the Big 12 is going to have in the basketball. They're going to be better head and shoulders above anybody else, even including the ACC. When you look at Houston, you look at Baylor, you look at Kansas, you look at all these teams. Utah, sometimes BYU. I forgot about BYU.
Yeah, BYU
is a pretty good school. Yeah, that the basketball in that conference, Texas Tech, Oklahoma State's always pretty decent. Kansas State's made some Final Fours. So I think as far as basketball, they may end up being the top tier conference when it comes to college basketball. So I think the Big 12 is healthy. I don't think losing Texas and OU is as big a loss as people from Texas and OU would tell you that it is, because I don't see it falling off the face of the earth. I think basketball is going to carry them. I think they'll be competitive in football. They'll have 2 or 3 playoff teams more than likely, year in and year out. So, I don't think it's a bad. I don't think losing them is the end all be all. That when Texas took that Longhorn network that pissed all you Aggies off, that really didn't gain any traction. I mean, nobody cared about the Longhorn network, and outside of this area, there's not a lot of people that give a crap about Texas either. So they're they think they're the Yankees, and they're more like the Mets. Yeah. So,
well, I want to get your take on this too, because I'm a big SEC fan, always have been, always will be. Give me your take on the SEC. I'm just going to leave it at that. Take now, not with Texas and Oklahoma in it. Texas and Oklahoma in your conference. Let's say over the last 10 years. Texas, Oklahoma in your conference. Over the last 10 years, Big 12 versus SEC. Give me your honest assessment on how you feel about the SEC. Do you think they're like everybody says, just there's top 2 teams and then everybody else and they suck and we're better from top to bottom? Give me your honest assessment on the SEC.
Well, over the last decade, it's an easy question to answer. The SEC was the head and shoulders best conference in the country. You probably could have took the top 4 teams out of the SEC every year for the last decade, and they could probably win a national championship against whoever it is that they're playing, outside of Clemson having a couple of good years. But this past season, I did think was a down year for the SEC, and I really wonder, like I was talking about Colorado a while ago, with this NIL or the Pac-12 and USC and all these other teams that are going to be able. You're not going to have former or future NFL draft picks sitting on the Alabama sideline anymore. They're going to move. They're going to go to the transfer portal. They're going to go somewhere else. They could end up at a Colorado, a Nebraska, a Baylor. So I think what we've seen over the last decade is going to change. I don't think it's going to continue, but undoubtedly over the last decade plus, with LSU and Auburn and Georgia now, Alabama, that was the end all be all conference. But I think that's about to change in a big way, in my opinion. So,
do you really?
Okay, I do. I think the NIL is going to flip everything on its head, and a team that could be a bottom feeder in the Big 12, say it's a Kansas State, and they have a 500 record, and you got a bunch of guys in the SEC that aren't playing, and mom and daddy aren't happy, and they're going to get a little money thrown their way. You put those guys on another team, that maybe has some 3 or 4 year guys, and you put those guys on that team with that type of talent, they can jump in there and compete. Yeah. So I do think it's going to change the landscape of college football. I don't necessarily know it's for the better, but I definitely think it's going to change it.
So if we change the landscape of college, I agree. I don't think the NIL is going to affect as much as the transfer portal does. Okay, and I know they're combined.
Yeah, they're combined.
But it's more of the transfer portal thing, because I can still I can give you $250,000. I can give him $250,000. But I'm going to play you, so screw 250. I can get 250 somewhere else. I'm going to go 250 over there, right? So I think it's more of the transfer portal. I think that's really what got Nick Saban, after listening to everything he said. I think that it's the transfer portal that really got him. And the other thing is, all this shit happens now. All this shit happens before the bowl and the playoffs. So it's like Nick Saban said. He told Paul Feinbaum, McAfee. McAfee said, "Hey, coach, congratulations on making the playoffs, man. This is huge." He goes, "Really? You think it's a big thing? Because I'm going to lose 4 weeks, because I've got to not only coach these kids to go to a playoff, but now I've got to keep my other ones. Now I go to the transfer portal. Now I got to figure out where the money is, and then I got to coach, and I got to keep these, and then so is it really a big? I mean, nobody's." It should be a bonus, but it's killing you. That's why I've always said this from the first time we started. I think the transfer portal can't open until after the national championship. The Heisman isn't picked until after the national championship. And then you want to make it to Wild Wild West, make it 4 weeks. Everybody vie for them. And then you got 132 Division I football teams. You have 109 quarterbacks in the transfer portal the next day. All right, let's see how many of those 109 quarterbacks get picked up in 4 weeks.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Anyway, that's for another story.
We had that conversation this morning, and we were talking about Nick Saban retiring. Well, I think he sees the writing on the wall. I mean, what's recruiting been? You look back at Bobby Bowden, you look at Nick Saban, Brian Kelly, Chip Kelly. All these big-time coaches can walk into a kid's living room and say, "Hey, Mom and Dad, check this out. I've got an A on my helmet for Alabama, and I got 6 rings right here. Come to Alabama."
Yep.
And you're set. Now you can't do that, because if you get that kid and you sit on his couch, and then the first year and a half, 2 years, that kid doesn't play, well, guess what? He's out the door. He's going to play for Coach Prime. He's going to play for Oregon. He's going somewhere else. It's going to change, and I think he sees the writing on the wall. Hey, he's a great coach. He's the best college coach that's ever, in my opinion, that's ever walked on a sideline.
I agree.
But I think he's it's like that old Hank Williams Jr. song. He's a dinosaur now, and it's changed quickly. The dinosaurs just got extinct because the transfer portal did that to him. And I think he sees that. He's like, yeah, and you're right. There should be none of that should be able to go down until after the national championship game. There should be a 4-week window. You close the transfer portal and you're done. Yeah. But I think he saw the writing on the wall.
Well, the thing is, here's the other thing, and I know I did a TikTok about it, and I talked to a good friend of mine about it, and he's scared to death because the NIL has already trickled down to the high school level. Mm-hmm. It's already trickled down. Some states, it's legal for name, image, and likeness for high school kids. I've got a couple of buddies that their kids are already making money as seniors in high school, man. And in Texas, it's not here yet. It's not here yet, but it's coming. It's
I don't
coming.
like that at all.
So if me and you are here in Bastrop, if I'm the head coach here in Bastrop and you're my offensive coordinator, you're looking at me going, dude, we do not have a G5 quarterback right now. We got to get us one. All right. So I'm going to go to some business and say, hey, can I have $5,000 a month?
Yeah.
Because I've got to go to Dripping Springs or to Westlake, and I want to get their number 2 quarterback to come over here, and I'm going to pay him.
I'm going to pay him,
and we're going to.
And I'm going to give him a car to drive.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a car. Exactly. Russell, my OC, I'm going to give you a quarterback, and I'm going to give you a running back. I'm looking at my DC. Hey, I'm going to give you a safety. I'm going to give you a 3 technique and a middle linebacker. You motherfuckers better win for me right now. Let's go to work.
Yeah.
And that's what it's already trickling down. I think it's bullshit. I hate it.
I do too.
But we can't stop it. So we've got to just embrace it, and that's the way it goes. And that's the way it goes, so to say. That's where we're going. So I had a talk. Me and Donnie were talking about this, and Coach JJ were talking about this yesterday in our other podcast. I want to get your take on this. Alabama, Georgia. Let's say Georgia. Kirby Smart leaves Georgia.
Yeah.
Saban's already out of Alabama. Harbaugh out of Michigan. All right. So now do these guys go after a guy like Prime that could make a big splash, make you all this money, have all this like he did it at Colorado, right? He raised over $18 million for Colorado in 2 weeks. All this stuff. Is that what these teams are going to go after? Because Donnie said, dude, that's what these teams are going to go after. That's what they need. I'm still of the mindset that it's about the ring. It's about the ring. We want championships. Yeah, Deion did all this at Colorado. Great, but he only won 4 games. All right, he's going to do this next year. It's about can you get that ring doing what you're doing? What are your thoughts on that? Do you still believe that we have to hang on to guys like Saban or their mentality on winning championships, or is it all about let's go get the money and let's do it this year?
I think that everything is based on the almighty dollar. And I think, unfortunately, and I don't like it at all, and I wish I was wrong about this, but I do think that it's going to change. I think it's going to – the one good thing it may do is create more parity in college football, and it's not going to be so top-heavy. But unfortunately, guys like Saban, Kirby Smart, Harbaugh, I think Harbaugh is going to see the writing on the wall too and jump back to the NFL. Because it's not going to be about, and it should be about the rings. It should be about, hey, I'm a badass recruiter and this is what I can do and all this and this and that. But unfortunately, it's going to be about, hey, look how many TV dollars and how much revenue I generated. Look how many of these recruits I got to come through the transfer portal. I think it's going to change. I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. Me, I'm more of a traditionalist. I'm a little bit older as well, but I do think I don't completely agree. And I listened to the podcast from last night. I don't agree with everything Donnie said. I understood the premise of what he was saying, but it's going to be a little more gradual. It's not going to be right off the bat. But I think people like Saban and Harbaugh, they see the writing on the wall. Yeah. And it's not going to be about just, unfortunately, it's going to be about the almighty dollar, not the ring.
Yeah, yeah. No,
especially for these kids.
And that's what sucks. But we saw it here in Texas. You're a Texas boy. I'm a Texas boy. We know, on Friday nights, everything shuts down in the good small towns. Not anymore because it's all changed. But when me and you were playing, our hometowns, they shut down at 4:00. And everybody's hauling ass to the game. And it's a big it's a big thing. And you love it. Nowadays, I mean, we know we've got friends that do it. Well, my son can't play here, so I'm going to take him to this school. My son can't play here. I'm going to take him to this school. I'm going to do that. You can just change. And I told a good buddy of mine, Tom, which I'm going to have on later on. I said, dude, we're missing the boat on this thing. We're missing the boat. We don't need to be in high school coaching. What we need to do, we need to either be the summer league specialist coach where we're teaching kids for $50 an hour how to throw a ball, how to tackle, how to run, or we need to become agents for these kids.
Yeah. No doubt.
And I could tell the head coach here at Bastrop, hey, I got a kid over here at Dripping Springs. If you give him $5,500 a month, I can get him over here. And I got a linebacker in Yoakum that if you give him $3,500 a month, I can get him over here.
Yeah.
And all I get is 10%.
Yeah.
And if I could do that, that's what this is coming to.
You're right.
Because, dude, I go to fucking home games here at Bastrop, and we're a 5A school. We got 2 5A schools. Dude, there ain't 200 people in the bleachers.
They
the saddest thing, the saddest thing I can say. And I mean, we're old Texas, but I just think it's just trickling down.
It's unfortunate.
It's trickling down.
I don't like it. I don't like it at all.
All right, let's change gears here. I want to know what you think about the 12-man playoff.
Oh, I love it. I think it's great. More games, more these bowl. What the transfer portal, what these players opting out of bowl games has done. I mean, look at the Florida State Georgia game last week. It's terrible what it's done to the traditional bowl games. So at least we'll have those 12 games those 6 games plus I guess there'll be 18, 20 games for the whole playoff total. I think it's great. You give like this year, if you'd had Georgia at the 6th seed, tell me Georgia couldn't have won the national championship this year.
Well, dude, I mean, come on, let's be honest. The best 4 teams in the nation weren't in the playoffs.
I don't agree with that, but
come on.
But
Georgia wasn't better than Texas or Washington. The Georgia-Michigan national championship would have been great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I don't think who are the other 3 teams then that weren't in it?
Oh, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
I mean, Georgia. I'll give you Georgia.
Yeah, Georgia was better than Texas, Washington. I mean, they split with Alabama, but I know it's hard. You can't do that shit. And if Florida State would have made it in the playoffs, they keep all their players except the quarterback. Would it have made a difference? Well, now we get to see the
first round.
Yeah, now we get to see it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like the 12-team playoff. I've always wanted to see a playoff. I don't care about the damn Poinsettia Bowl. I don't care about the I have a Tampax tampon
exactly
bleeding bowl, whatever. Who cares? I don't. Only reason I cared and watched it this year is because I'm betting on the games. And it's hard to bet on those games too because who the hell's playing?
Yeah, you don't know.
You don't know. So yeah, I think it's good if this is the direction that it's going. That's great. At least it gives some of these bowl games. It sucks. What game was the Florida State Georgia game? What bowl was that? Was it the? I don't know what bowl.
The Orange Bowl.
It might have been the Orange
Bowl. I think it might have been. Yeah.
I mean, how bad is that historically? How good is the Orange Bowl game? You look forward to that. That's a New Year's Day game. You want to watch it. I turned that game on in the second quarter. I was like, "This okay? Well, I guess I'm going to bed."
Yeah.
I hate to see that, especially as much money as these cities and these stadiums and these people that put on these bowl games. It sucks for them. It sucks for the cities. I mean, some of these cities are their whole their economies are based on these bowl games for part of the year. It generates so much revenue, generates so many hotels and money for the economy in those cities. Now they've screwed it all up because nobody cares. Yeah. I mean, I think that the only way for this to work with this NIL and transfer portal is you got to have more teams in the playoffs to give these things some merit. And, these other teams that are, a fringe top 12 teams, maybe they can play in those bowl games to prove something. So, I like the playoff. I think it's a necessary evil now, but it used to be college football was great because every single game throughout the year mattered. You can't lose in week 2. You can't. Alabama 10 years ago wouldn't have been anywhere near a playoff or a national championship because they lost to Texas in week 4. Now every regular season game doesn't matter. So I hate that it watered it down like that. Because that's what made college ball so beautiful. Because every freaking week mattered.
Well, Texas also made their loss to Oklahoma disappear somehow.
Yeah.
I like
sure.
That I mean,
yeah. I mean, and back in the day, it wouldn't have been that way.
Yeah.
It's so they had to do this, Coach. It's unfortunately it's a necessary evil. They've watered the game down so much. The bowl games don't matter. Every regular season game don't matter as much now. So I guess the 12 teams the only scenario, and I wouldn't mind to see it go to a 16-team playoff.
So tell me something, man. I don't know that you follow Baylor football as like I watch, like I follow A&M football. I got me and a bunch of guys. We know who's coming. We know who we got. We know who's leaving. I mean, we're one of the top in the transfer portals right now. We got a great offensive coordinator. We got a really good defensive coordinator, and Elko's a defensive guy. We're excited about next year. We really are. I think Wegman, our quarterback, he's ranked like number 10 in the Heisman poll right now, which if he stays healthy, maybe. Do you keep up with Baylor like that? And if so, where do you see Baylor headed next year in the Big 12? Is there hope for Baylor in the Big 12 next year?
No.
Oh shit!
Like I was saying earlier in the podcast about Matt Rule and Art Briles prior to Matt Rule, and they had that 1 year hiatus. Baylor was getting to where they were top 15 recruiting classes year in and year out. They were getting these kids from Texas to come play there. Ever since Matt Rule's left and Aranda's been there, it's on the local news here. Every night you'll see, oh, Baylor landed a 4-star. He landed this, they landed that. And now it's like, oh, they got a 2-star from, West Orange Start. Well, who gives a shit? He's the backup safety, Yeah. So no, I don't see maybe if they can get some JUCO players, but no, they're middle to bottom of the pack next year. I'm not looking forward to it. I hate it. I hate to say that because the facility, the program, they deserve, that city deserves to have a winner, but it's not going to happen until they get rid of this guy.
Hey, Coach, thanks for. I want to thank you for coming on, man. It's always fun. You can always, and you guys that are listening, you come on. Russell's on our NFL Pick'em. Hilarious. He's had some great takes. Plus, he gives Tristan a lot of shit. So come listen to that also. Coach, leave us with one. I've got one question. Leave us with this. How far are the Cowboys going to? Russell is a huge Cowboy fan. Coach, honestly, dig into your heart. Will the Cowboys win a Super Bowl? And if not, how far can they go? I know we're rooting for them. I'm rooting for them with you. How far can they go? Come on.
I think you already know the answer to this question.
But these people need to know. I think
you know where I'm going. These people need to know. So the Cowboys, because they have the 2 seed, because they play so well at home, I think they can get to the NFC Championship game. Once they leave Jerry World and they got to go play in San Francisco, which I think the only team that's going to be able to beat San Francisco other than possibly Dallas is going to be the Rams,
right?
Which they may have to play the Rams next week if they beat the Lions. There's an outside shot they can make it to a Super Bowl this year. There's an outside shot. I don't think it's going to happen. I wouldn't be shocked if they got upset on Sunday. But I think –
don't say that.
I'm a jaded Cowboy fan, Coach. Don't. You know me.
Do they have a better shot at beating the Rams or the Niners?
Oh, the Rams for sure. Because if they play the Rams, they'll be in Jerry World. So they'll be playing in Dallas. And they've already beat the Rams in Dallas. They beat them pretty well with Stafford. They actually knocked Stafford out earlier in the year, hurt him with that pass rush. But they don't stand a shot against the Niners. It'll be the same thing as the last 2 years. They'll get to the Niners and they'll lose.
Well, Coach,
I just don't.
I appreciate you being here, man. Look, I am rooting for your Baylor Bears. I am rooting for your Cowboys. I am a huge fan of not only them, I'm a huge fan of you. You're a good friend of mine. Thank you for being on the podcast. You guys make sure you like, follow, share. Let us know what you liked about this, what you don't. If you disagree or if you don't, let us know. Hit the bell for notifications. Again, Coach, thank you for being on. Thank Brandy for me for letting me borrow you for about 30 minutes. Make sure she knows that. But I appreciate you for being on. Guys, thank everybody. I appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you didn't, screw off. But we'll be back tomorrow for another Daily Chalk Talk. Russ, thank you, brother. Take care, man.
Later, buddy.